Hey folks, it's Dom here, and today we got another tier list video because, I always enjoy doing one of these, and I thought something I haven't actually done a tier list for yet is all the expansions and stories and kind of just extra cards added to Legends throughout the years. So I thought, let's make a tier list on all the expansions, stories, and promotional sets, and kind of mosh it all together. And if you want to see more tier lists like this, let me know. I might do a few wackier ones in the future, who knows. But yeah, other than that, let's just get onto the video. Now we'll start with promotional sets because they're quite small and simple to go over. And the first one we have is the Madhouse Collection, and I apologise for this abhorrent image. It was the best thing I could find for it. And this was the first ever kind of small set added to Legends. Now it does come with a few really cool cards, like one of my favourite cards ever, Swindler's Market, and some really nice draw power cards like Merchant's Camel, and some great item synergy cards like Gardener of Swords. However, the set doesn't really resonate too much with me, and I feel like it's just a few nice cards to add into the game. And of course, Altar of Despair can make a very, very powerful deck with Telvanni and Betray and Sacrifices, but I do think as a whole this wasn't the best of expansions and was just a very small little set just to get a few more cards out and a bit more money. So I'm going to put it down in Stole Your Sweet Roll. So not really the best of collections, but I mean it's still new cards, so I'm not really complaining. Next we will have the Forgotten Hero Collection. Now this one I actually really like just because it adds Singleton as a whole into the game through Siege of Stros Mackay, Set's Masterwork, and of course how can we forget Moroki. It also has things like Namira's Shrine, which was obviously quite big back in the day for draw power in like kind of big draw decks, as well as things like Tullius's Conscription, which again had its own kind of deck around it. Now even though almost all the cards in this set either were those ones which had these big archetypes around them, or just kind of smaller cards like Bleak Coast Troll, which just gave Slay +1/+1 and Cast into Time, a simple banishing card. I just think it was a really nice addition to the game and had some very strong and good cards to add and implement, and really did kind of help the game in a way. So I'm definitely going to put that in. Yeah, I like cheese. I don't know why I named it that. I just thought, go on then, I'll name it that. We do always respect cheese anyway, so anyway, let's just move on. So next we have Frost Spark Collection, which is the second worst picture I've got in this video. I do apologise for that one as well. But this set was, it was a bit of a weird one really, because like, I mean it had Twilight, Piercing Twilight, which was a really good card, and its one Legendary Wilds Incarnate was a cool enough card for draw power, but did require you to have your runes to get that draw power. But other than that, all the cards were just alright. I mean, they were cool. I like quite a few of them. I mean, I don't see too many of them get played. You do see a few of them here and there, like Carved Spire Scout and the occasional Green Pact Ambusher. But honestly, I just feel like it's just nice because it's more cards, but there's no real magic to the set. So I am going to have to put this one at the bottom of the group, in front of the Wild Fodder, which was previously Dive Rock Fodder, and is of course bottom of the tier list. Next we have the final promotional set, which is the Tamriel Collection, which they gave away for free when they told everyone that they're no longer developing any more packs and content for Legends, which was obviously very upsetting, but it was nice for them to at least give a few more cards for people to experiment with, to kind of keep the game going a bit longer. And honestly, there's quite a few nice cards in here, to be honest. Ones like Midnight Burial, which had a very cool kind of discard pile synergy. There's Obstinate Goat for all those people with animal loving decks. And the triple attribute cards are obviously really nice for the factions they went into. Like Red Mountain, for instance, massively helping out House Dagoth. And other things like Wild Eschater, massively helping rally decks. And I feel like this definitely did give a lot more to the game and a few more bits of gameplay that people could definitely get stuff out of before giving up on it or just moving on. So I'm definitely going to put it in Milk Drinker because it's pretty average, but it does add a few really nice cards to the game, of course. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to story sets, and the first one will be the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. And there were some really cool cards in here, actually. I do genuinely like some of the Slay cards you get, as well as some of the other smaller ones, like, for instance, Penitus Oculatus Agent. Words are hard. Stealing enemy keywords. That's really interesting an idea, and can obviously, spook up your opponent at certain times. And adding Shadowmere was cool, because everyone loves that horse. Corsair Ship's one of the more kind of smaller cards, which I really like, just for item decks, and definitely goes quite far. and it does have some very interesting cards. But to be honest, I'd say the thing that I liked the most about Fall of the Dark Brotherhood was the storyline and the kind of quests from it over the actual cards. As, I mean, yeah, you did get some cool cards, but to be honest, I do think that it's pretty alright. It's Milk Drinker, it's average, it's not too bad. I mean, the kind of way I want to put this is that Milk Drinker's average, and then the top 3 is just for kind of dividing up the bigger ones. Now, moving on to the next storyline was the Return to Clockwork City, and this one has a very special place in my heart because of it adding some very nice neutral cards. Not only Dwemer, but also Factotums, and adding the Assemble ability that I've really enjoyed making decks with in the past. Even if they aren't the strongest, it's still really good fun. And of course, some of the cards that they added in this set was so crucial, like Galen the Shelterer for duplicating cards and putting them in your deck. That was just an amazing card, and like is run in so many decks. Barrow Stalker, Hallowed Death Priest, Endurance got some great things. Obviously, Treasure Hunt didn't get as much as people probably wanted them to, but you still have some really cool Treasure Hunt cards with like Aldora and whatnot. And not only was the story great, but because you get this neutral support and some other really nice cards for decks, I'm going to put it in your Finally Awake, as it was an excellent story and just everything about it has a very special place in my heart. And the final expansion was the Isle of Madness. Now, this set, I really liked the story. However, the cards actually added by it were interesting, but none of them were really that amazing. I mean, there were some obviously very cool cards like the Gatekeeper, limiting your opponent's attacks, stuff like Pointy Wall of Spikes, which is just great as like a no-you defense card. You know, you got some really cool things here, as well as the Gates of Madness themselves for just running a really random deck, which just goes insane. But as I said, the story is probably what makes this great to me. So it's going to get a bit of a buff for that, but then the actual cards itself, I think, kind of let it down a bit. So the quality wasn't as high. I mean, yeah, they were good, but they just weren't for me. So I'm going to put it in, yeah, I like cheese. I'd say it was better than Fall of the Dark Brotherhood as a whole package, but the cards themselves would probably be a bit worse. Okay, we're in the big leagues now. We're on the full-on expansions. Massive card pack expansions. And the first one we had was Heroes of Skyrim, which I really liked. Not only did it add Shouts, a completely different card of action, and it just, you know, went really far, kind of developing the more you use them and increasing. It also added a lot of dragon cards with their own strategies, Alduin's Apocalypse, a very popular starter deck, and some other smaller keywords which weren't used as much but were still really cool ideas like Beast Form, as I'm a big fan of Beast Form, even if I don't play werewolves that much. And of course, it did even have its own win condition of Jarl Balgruuf, but no one really kind of covers that one that much. So you've got a lot of very cool cards in this set. Now, I'll be honest, I do prefer some of the other sets, but I still think this one made a very positive impact on the game. And of course, as it was related to Skyrim, a lot of people could see these cards and go, hey, I know that character from Skyrim, because I've played too much Skyrim. And I feel like that relatability as well massively helped the set do well. So I'm going to put it in, yeah, I like cheese, just to show it was a very strong start to expansions. Now the next one they made, the Houses of Morrowind, was just outstanding. It was the opener and beginning to triple attribute decks. Now they only added half the triple attributes, but it was still really cool and added so much more to the game. Not only that, but it also added different abilities like Rally. You'd have House Dagoth always trying to go off cards with 5 power or more. You'd have Telvanni units trying to betray each other. You had Redoran units rallying one another. And, you know, you also had, what else am I forgetting? Plot, we had Plot. Yeah, how could I forget Plot? And just having all of these, not only effects that relate to the game, Exalt as well for Tribunal Temple, my apologies, but not only do you have all these abilities actually lore and realistically working with the cards they're representing, but you've got so many nice Dark Elf cards and so much more kind of you could change your decks with as you had triple attributes now, and having all those options just completely changed the game. Not even to add that so many of these cards were just so great to use, including one of my personal favourites, Aspect of Hircine. Just, you know, it was an incredible set, and for that, I do think it has to go in Golly You're the Best, just defining the game and adding triple attributes and really just taking it one step further. Okay, so the third expansion was the Alliance War. Now, this one has a very, very special place in my heart, exclusively because it was the first ever expansion which I got to do a card reveal on. That's right, making this video all about me, sorry guys. But this set was really good, as it not only added the final lot of triple attribute decks as options, but it also added, again, more kind of keywords to play about with. It added expertise, which was great. It added veteran, which didn't see as much love, but was still cool. It added mobilize, which was so useful for item decks, stopping them from bricking anywhere near as much, because you could just summon a unit with the item. And that's not even just to mention that, you know, some of the legendaries like Abnafan in the set were excellent, and just had these crazy good abilities that could add so many levels to the game. Things like Lyris Titanborn, really making your opponents having to kind of get rid of it quickly or just dispose of it before their runes get completely slaughtered. Or even things like Forward Camp, adding more kind of playstyles with supports. It was just a really excellent set, I think, in general. Maybe not as good as Houses of Morrowind, but it's You're Finally Awake good enough. That's the kind of thing I would want Rayloft to wake me up to. We are now moving on to the Moons of Elsewhere. And again, I've got to do a card reveal on this, really cool, but not really relevant, so I'll move on. And this set came along, and it was good, it was cool, added a lot of Khajiit cards, but I just feel like it wasn't as great as some of the previous expansions. I mean, it added some very cool dragon cards, depending on different kind of play styles. You got Karl Drokonid, or however you say his name, with Halls of the Colossus, which was excellent and really helped dragon decks go further. You also got some kind of strength and intelligence dragon support, which is great. Not only to mention the two new keywords, Wax Wane, as, you know, they're kind of turn-based changing things, and Consume, which were both really good and really cool, but they just weren't as developed, in my opinion, as previous keywords that came along, and just didn't really do as much in the game, as well as the kind of structure decks they were selling weren't that great. I mean, it added a lot of Khajiit Pilfer support, which, you know, I gotta rate that. Chimera is an excellent addition to those decks, but I'll be honest, looking back at this set, I'd say it's probably one of the weaker full expansions, so I'm going to put it in Milk Drinker. Of course, I'm glad it was added to the game. I'm glad all of these were. It's more cards, but it's probably one of the weaker full expansions. And finally, we have Jaws of Oblivion, the final expansion to review. And it's a very controversial one, as I know a lot of people are not a fan of Invade, and I have done a video in the past discussing what I believe are the issues with Invade, and that's more of a kind of subjective opinion, so it's not me objectively going over every single issue, it's just me mentioning what I think and would understand why people would have issues with it. And in my opinion though, this set did add a lot of cool cards. I know the Invade mechanic does kind of coat most of it, but there are still some really cool stuff here to have a go with, and you can make fun Invade decks. And I'm not just sticking up for this one because I love Oblivion and they add Goblin cards, although Bloody Hand Chef is amazing. Just gonna have to throw that out there. You also got things like the Grey Fox for messing about with your discard pile, actually using Reveal, which was a really cool mechanic to kind of see, having the ultimate heist come in and swoop down your opponent, having other things like Umril the Undefeated return, and obviously these big names meaning a lot to me because of who I am. I do quite like this set, and I'm going to put it in Yeah, I Like Cheese, despite some people probably thinking it should go a bit lower, as they aren't fans of Invade. But again, this entire tier list is my opinion. But if you guys had any different opinions, let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video.